Think about it. Every single day, you make hundreds, if not thousands, of little choices. What you're going to eat, what you say in that meeting, who you trust. And you probably feel like you're in the driver's seat for all of them, right? But what if I told you that most of those decisions were actually made for you, moments before you even knew you were making them?
So let's really get into this. We all like to believe we're these rational, logical beings, weighing the pros and cons for every choice. But the science actually tells a very different story. Turns out, our environment is constantly sending us these little hidden signals that guide our behavior in some really predictable ways.
Okay, check out this experiment. A guy goes around a mall asking women for their phone numbers, and as you'd probably guess, he gets shot down. A lot. But then, he changes just one tiny thing, where he's standing. When he asks the exact same question, but this time in front of a flower shop, his success rate just goes through the roof. So why? Well, flowers are subconsciously connected to romance, right? That context, that backdrop, it primed the women to be way more receptive. And the wildest part? When they were asked about it later, not a single one said the shop had anything to do with it. They all thought it was 100% their own free choice.
And that, right there, is the world of hidden triggers. Our minds are constantly being nudged, prodded, and guided by these super subtle cues all around us, from images to words, and it's all happening completely below the radar of our conscious mind.
And this isn't some one-off thing. Here's another study that will kind of blow your mind. Researchers set up two versions of an online furniture store. Everything was identical, except for one thing, the background wallpaper. For half the visitors, the background was fluffy, soft clouds. For the other half, it was piles of coins. So what happened? Well, the cloud group spent almost all their time searching for comfortable, soft furniture. But the coin group? They were laser-focused on price, hunting for the cheapest deal. A simple background picture completely flipped their priorities. And again, none of them had any idea it was even happening.
So it's clear these triggers can work on us, but the big question is, can we make them work for us? Oh, absolutely. Let's jump into some simple but weirdly effective tricks you can use to kind of hack your own brain.
You struggle to get out of bed in the morning? The second your alarm rings, sit straight up, make two fists, and just yell, "Yeah!" I know, it sounds completely ridiculous, but that physical jolt literally shocks your body awake. Or how about this one? Ever worry you forgot to lock the door? As you're turning the key, just say a totally bizarre phrase out loud, something like purple giraffe. The memory of saying that weird thing will stick in your head, and you'll know for sure you did it. And this last one is amazing. If you're exhausted because you slept terribly, just tell yourself with confidence, you know what? I actually slept great. Studies show your brain will literally perform better just based on that belief.
Okay, so we've got some hacks for our own minds. Now, what about other people? Let's talk about how knowing these psychological principles can make our interactions with everyone else a whole lot smoother.
So you're dealing with a teammate who's, let's just say, not very motivated. Barking an order like, "do this," is just going to make them dig their heels in. So you frame it differently. You say, "Hey, just start with this." That makes the huge task feel small and manageable. Then, once they've done that little first piece, you give them some real praise. "Hey, very good." And then you follow up with, "Okay, now continue with this part." See what you did? You broke it down into a series of small wins. You're using psychology, not just authority.
Here's another really powerful tool for you: silence. If you think someone's holding back or not giving you the whole story, don't push them harder. Instead, just stop talking. Pause the conversation, keep some friendly eye contact, and just wait. That social discomfort, that awkward silence is so powerful. The other person will almost always feel this deep need to fill it, and a lot of times, they'll give you the exact information they were trying to hide.
Now, all of these little tricks and examples, they're actually pieces of a bigger puzzle, a concept from the psychologist Robert Cialdini called persuasion. And really, the best way to get it is to think about gardening. You wouldn't take a really valuable seed and just toss it on hard, dry ground and expect it to grow, right? Of course not. First, you got to prepare the soil.
And that's exactly what persuasion is. It's the art of preparing that mental soil. It's all about what you say or do right before you make your point that makes people open to hearing it. It's not the message itself. It's all about that critical moment before the message.
For instance, a salesperson was having a really tough time selling this $75,000 product. People just couldn't get past that price tag. So he added one simple joking line right before he revealed the price. He'd say, "Now, obviously, I can't charge you $1 million for this." By dropping that huge, ridiculous number, he anchored it in their minds. And suddenly, compared to $1 million, $75,000 seemed way more reasonable.
The negotiations just stopped.
And if you're thinking this is some kind of high-level mind game that only works on adults, think again. In one study, they showed pictures to toddlers, 18-month-olds. One group saw a picture of two people standing together, shoulder to shoulder, a symbol of unity. Then, a researcher would accidentally drop something. The toddlers who saw that togetherness picture, they were 3 times more likely to get up and help. It's just incredible. This stuff is so primitive, it's basically baked into our DNA.
And this brings us to what Cialdini says is the single most potent tool of influence there is, an idea that kind of sits on top of all the others. It's the principle of unity.
So what is unity? It's really simple. It's creating that feeling of we, that feeling of a shared identity. When we feel like someone is part of our tribe, our group, our family, that they're one of us, our defenses just melt away, and our willingness to say yes just skyrockets.
And you want to see a master at work? Look at how Warren Buffett uses this. When he's talking to his shareholders and they're worried, he doesn't just give them dry financial data. He frames it like this. He says, "I will tell you what I would say to my family." And just like that, poof, he's not some distant CEO anymore. He's a trusted family advisor. He creates unity, and his message becomes unbelievably powerful.
Here's another one. A banker is going through a list of investment products, and he can see his client is just glazing over, losing interest. Then, the banker leans in and says this. The second he mentioned his mother, he tapped into the power of family, which is probably the strongest form of unity there is. The client immediately snapped to attention, felt that sense of trust, and was ready to listen.
And if you need any more proof, just look at these numbers. It's staggering. A professor was trying to get parents to fill out a survey. His response rate was a pretty sad 19%. So he made one tiny change. He told the students they'd get one single extra credit point, basically meaningless, if their parent filled out the survey. The response rate shot up to 97%. 97! Come on, it wasn't about the point. It was because he reframed the whole thing as a way for a parent to help their child. He leveraged unity.
So, look, understanding these incredibly powerful tools of influence is, well, it's crucial. And it's not just about learning how to use them ethically in your own life, it's also about recognizing when they're being used on you.
So, if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. The setup is often more important than the punchline. Preparing that mental soil, that's often way more critical than the seed you're about to plant. That moment before, that's the real secret.
All right, let's wrap this up with a few killer takeaways you can start using today. If you want to build a real connection with someone, ask for their advice, not their opinion. Advice creates a partnership. Before you make a big request, think, what mindset do I want this person to be in? Then say something to nudge them there. And watch out for when someone does you a small favor and then immediately asks for a huge one. And maybe most important of all, if you feel that pressure, just stop. Take a breath. Don't let anyone rush you into an answer.
Look, these triggers are working on all of us, subconsciously, every single day. And they can be used for good, to connect, to help, to create positive change, or they can be used to manipulate. Now that you can see the invisible strings being pulled, the only question left is, what are you going to do with that knowledge?